Howdy, Banger Pals. Blayne Smith joining you for another Overkill Reviews, Banger's weekly metal review show. And I did my work this week. I've been a good boy, so now I get my treat. Yay!
A lion's ride in a restless night, leading out another street. It's got its marauding wicked souls and proves on hollow steel. Loved by friends who worship him, hated by those who can be crushed. Not doom is cannons for weakness when you got into his reach. Lord from reality, what's under? Blinding sanity, what's under? The pioneer, the boundaries, the leader of your enemies.
Yes, it's the new album from Sodom called The Arsonist. It's out today, June 27th on Steam Hammer. Formed in 1982, Sodom are one of the big three of German thrash, sorry, Tankard, acting as the German equivalent of the American big three of thrash, sorry, Anthrax. This is all stuff you know, though, so let's skip over that and talk the recent reality. In the 2020s, Creator, Destruction, and Sodom are still releasing original albums. Surprisingly, despite being the biggest of the three, Creator has been struggling the most, releasing one of their worst albums maybe ever. It's not their worst album ever, but it wasn't great. In Hate Uber Allies, I reviewed it here.
So if we're looking at the 2020s season, so far, Sodom for sure in first place, Destruction coming up in second, and sadly Creator is lagging behind. That's why I gotta give this album 2.5 out of 5 checkered skulls.
Didn't love it. Destruction have fared better, but I haven't heard anyone really argue against Sodom's Genesis XIX being anything but the best release from the three in the 2020s. But it has been 5 long years since they released new material. 40 Years at War is a re-recording, so it doesn't count, even if it's one of the rare examples of a re-recording album that serves a purpose that isn't purely, num num num, daddy needs more money. Have they successfully held back the march of time, or are they going to fall victim to the inevitable boomer creep? My biggest gripe with Creator's last release was that it was a lot of very repetitive choruses and not much else. Thankfully, nothing like that plagues this record, as not only are tracks interesting in and of themselves, we get a lot of different styles of tracks, relatively speaking. These guys didn't dive down a prog rabbit hole and start singing about future wars or anything, though now that I am thinking about it, can we get Games Workshop to like partner with Sodom and get them to do an official 40K album? If I were one of these American oligarchs, I'd be spending millions to send Sodom into space, metaphorically, not sending Katy Perry into space, literally. You've likely heard the lead single Trigger Discipline, which is Tom at his most scream bark as a track blasts around him. If you need a song to check in and see if an old guy still has it, well, here's the track. No need to move anyone to an assisted living home. Hell, they don't even need life alerts. Sodom falling down the stairs will probably sound better than anything Metallica's made in over 30 years.
You'll never see it coming just before you can read it. It's good for the red, never end nowhere from turning back. I can't read 6 so full with the finger modern scout. But the rhythm of my beating and for the rushing of my body blood. Mutilated, praying, anger, gracious, not provided. Bullets break consistency. Won't stop until you die. I got no trigger, discipline. 'Cause I'm the chosen one to kill. I got no trigger, discipline. Humanity begins to tell.
On the complete flip side, Scavenger, the slowest track on the album, is a real goon of a song. And it's an old meaning of goon there, not the new one. Just, I mean, like a slow bruiser, you know. It's a simple stomp, but it has these stretches that are almost Hooded Menace sounding in the guitar tones. So obviously I'm over here like, the absolute layup of a shot that so many bands miss that Sodom thankfully does not, is putting a juicer of a track to close things out, giving you the desire to spin things back up again. Return to God in Parts is fast, has a catchy riff, and also just goes absolutely on guitar for like a good stretch. Don't know how a band older than me can have this much gas for the end of an album, but maybe they took a blue chew. Don't worry, I'm not gonna make a Nick Mullen style blue chew joke about war. That's how I talk on my Twitch stream. This is Blayne at work. Now hurry up and cut to a clip before I say something offensive.
Walk the line of sudden death to the place no truth untold. We fear there can be courage, just rather let it steal. We shall not sleep and fail, cause we are meant to die. Glorious in their hearts, the slimy bed of blood. Defending thunder hell away to clean us from the burning rod. The soul of war remains united to find refuge in blind discharge.
There are certain aspects of metal music that can be harder to keep up with as the years go on. Your throat can only take so much punishment. Pause on that one. Solos frequently get shorter, less common, and simpler because it's not just playing them, it's keeping them all in the noggin after all these years. Sodom have just said, no, we disagree. This thing is stuffed full of awesome solos. Every track but one has a ripper. The variety found in the sounds is reflected in the solos too. The Spirits That I Called will have one that is absolute chaos, barely hanging on like it's Tom Cruise on the side of a plane, which will immediately be followed by Witch Hunter, bringing in something a little more mellow and vibes-based. And just a big thank you for having a tribute song to a fallen friend on the record that is badass instead of some uncomfortable ballad that should go with an iMovie slideshow at a snoozer of a funeral. This is a party of a tribute. And like some just have actually cool, unique stuff that's a head turner going on besides just wowing you with skill. Maybe my favorite one is on the track I was gooning over in the last section. That's the modern usage of gooning. Scavenger has this weird one that like echoey fades in like the whine of a bomb dropping. There's content to have you struggle to hear like half of it. It's a really ballsy choice that I think turns out great. To have a listen. I know this review has a lot of been me being like, Sodom's old. How old is Sodom? Sodom's so old. Their first condoms were made. No, don't. YouTube. But praising them for not succumbing to the Reaper yet is kind of the point of me calling them old. They seem to want us to know they're not succumbing to it. They made it a point to record the drums analog to tape. Obviously, Tony's only 37, so he can do that, no sweat. He's a newer member of the band, bit of a blood boy. 37 blood boy, I'm 38. You know, guys, our blood's so good anymore. Regardless, he's younger. But just the desire to have things sound natural and put in the time, money, and effort is what's keeping Sodom so much younger in spirit. Because the record does sound great, and the record also looks great with a Zygmunt cover. I'm going to have to learn to say his name one of these days. That also has a bit of a mature Sodom vibe in terms of message instead of mature in a, wow, look what computers can do now, boomer energy. Does this AI love me? I'm going to make it call me baby. It'll do all my album covers for me now.
He gave the chatbot a name and a flirty personality.
Oh, totally, baby. But honestly, shaky hands or not, you've got this.
When you tie this to how consistent the album is from track to track, you get a band that both shows how they got here and that they should, in fact, still be making music. No track is showing up as a complete stinker that should have been left behind enemy lines. I like every song on the record. minus having to sit through a pointless minute-long intro. You'll never get me to stop complaining about that, but deep breaths, zen. It might be lacking a little bit in full-on attention-stealing moments, but that could also be chalked up to the 1-2 punch of a legendary band having to show up some of their best work in a decade. It ain't cooking Genesis XIX, but it's not a coaster either. You're gonna want to listen to this. You know who is cooking? Hello, Fred. No, that's the second meal kit joke in 1 week. All right, we have a Patreon. You give us a couple bucks. I don't have to put an ad here. I just need to advertise ourselves and what we give you when you give us bucks. If you head on over to Patreon, all of Metal Evolution's now up there. The whole thing, just hanging its whole ass out for you. So if you loved Metal Evolution and you want to watch it again, you can head on over there. There's a bunch of other stuff. We've been just putting up as much content from the vaults, new stuff, and I will also have my June tip sheet going up tomorrow because I am forgetful. But they still go up. Part of what's keeping this record strong is, despite being all live fires, the order they chose to arrange the tracks in makes them all strike at just the right time. The proper intro to the record is that first offensive that lets us know Sodom still make good music. Then, after almost mid-album respite provided by Scavenger, the intensity ramps up and carries us to the finish, starting with Taphophobia, which is the fear of being buried alive. And at this point, I can be buried alive in great Sodom records, so that makes it a little less scary. There's a punky rhythm from the drums on the track that feels like I'm kind of falling behind where I should be, and I have to catch up. This creates a great slingshot effect of energy, and after Sane Insanity gives us some classic full-force tom vocals, we're at AWTF. AWTF is probably the biggest charmer on the thing. It could easily serve as a Motorhead tribute in Tom's vocal performance and even in the rock and roll solo we get. I told you this thing has a lot of different solos on it. There's a lot of different solo vibes. Plus, they've also put the weakest track second last before the strong close I mentioned earlier, and that's a good spot for that. Though it is saved from my suggesting it be kicked to the curb entirely by shocker. I'm gonna say the word solo for one last time, but instead of listening to the solo from my least favorite track, let's listen to AWTF instead, because what a fun time.
Resistance reveals less.
Having such a blast with this record, and I didn't even mention that it's shorter than their previous record. Right after I complain about old guys not being able to edit in my last review, 48 minutes. Hell yeah, dudes. So obviously I had a blast with this thing. It's not my favorite Sodom record by any stretch, but I can't think of anywhere, anyhow, you'd call this a misstep. I prefer Genesis XIX a lot, but my boys did me proud. I do not need to buy a new belt buckle. 2 good records in the 2020s, you're safe until at least 2030, buddy. I think for the average person, it might be a 3.5, but as a massive Sodom fan, I'm jazzed. I can't help my jazz, and I know there's a lot of Sodom fans out there, so I don't think I need to alter the score for you non-Sodom fans. You guys can go to hell. So, the rating is 4 out of 5 Gnarnheinzes. I hate saying German words. But, what did you think? Are you as jazzed about Sodom as I am? Are you a sodomite? Okay. Are you a big Sodom fan? What did you think of the record? Let's Sodom fans bond over it. And if you are just someone that wandered in off the street, hey, what do you think about this Sodom record? But, before we go, I still have shoutouts for you, and oh boy, once again, Blayne has expertly tied 3 shoutouts to this. So, number 1, we've got some death/thrash. If you like Sodom, I'm assuming you like death thrash. Inhuman Condition are back with their new album Mind Trap on Listenable Insanity Records. It comes out June 27th, same day as Sodom. They still have their weird mascot that don't wear shoes. I prefer Knarn Hines. This guy makes me uncomfortable, but their music doesn't make me uncomfortable. I love it. And then, hey, we have a new death thrash band from Finland, Indemon Reclaiming Chaos on Inverse Records, also coming out June 27th. And third, we have Drawn and Quartered, Lord of Two Horns, Nuclear Winter Records, June 27th as well. This is just a straight up death metal record, but it does feature old guys, so that ties it to this record. They're not as old as Sodom, but they are a long-standing death metal band that have really maintained their quality throughout their long career. So there you go. 3 more records. That's been it. Thanks so much. See you on the next one.
Walk the line of sudden death to the place no truth untold. With fear there can be courage.